There's something about a fire that makes us remember. The way the flames dance and flicker, casting shadows on the walls, pulling us back through time. Tonight, we're going to sit together by the fireplace, just you and I, and let the warmth wrap around us like an old familiar blanket. The wood crackles softly, releasing its sweet cedar scent into the air, and somewhere in the distance, you can hear the gentle sound of rain beginning to tap against the windows. Spring is arriving, slowly but surely, and with it comes a flood of memories that have been sleeping through the winter. So settle in, let your body sink deeper into comfort, and together we'll remember spring. Outside, the world is changing. Winter's grip is loosening, and though the air still carries a chill, you can feel something different now. Something hopeful. The rain that's falling isn't the harsh, biting rain of February. This is April rain, soft and persistent. The kind that whispers promises of green things growing and flowers pushing through the earth. But here, inside, we're safe and warm. The fire is our companion tonight, and it's going to help us remember. Do you recall the springs of your childhood? Not just any spring, but that particular spring when everything felt possible? When the world seemed to wake up alongside you, and every day held the promise of adventure? Tonight, we're going back there. Not literally, of course. We can't turn back time. But memory is a powerful thing. It can transport us if we let it. So take a deep breath in, hold it for just a moment, and let it go. Feel your shoulders drop, feel your jaw soften, and let's begin this gentle journey together. The fire pops, sending a tiny spark upward, and you watch it rise and fade. There's a rhythm to a fire, isn't there? It's alive in its own way, breathing, consuming, giving warmth in return for wood. Our ancestors understood this. They gathered around fires just like this one, telling stories, keeping warm, keeping the darkness at bay. And tonight, you're part of that ancient tradition. You're here, present, allowing yourself this moment of peace. Let me tell you about a house I remember. Perhaps you have a house like this in your own memories. It wasn't grand or particularly special from the outside, just an ordinary house on an ordinary street. But inside, inside it held everything that mattered. There was a living room with a fireplace, not unlike the one we're imagining now. The bricks around it were a deep red, worn smooth in places from decades of use. There was a brass poker leaning against the hearth, and a small collection of logs stacked neatly in a wrought iron holder. The people who lived in this house understood the value of a good fire, not just for warmth, though that was certainly part of it, but for the atmosphere it created. When the fire was lit, conversation became easier. Silence became comfortable. Time seemed to slow down, as if the flames themselves were burning away the urgency of the outside world. It was in this room, by this fire, that spring was always welcomed. You see, the family had a tradition. Every year, on the first truly warm day of spring, they would open all the windows in the house, letting the fresh air rush through every room, chasing away the staleness of winter. But that night, even though it was warm enough during the day, the evening still carried a chill, so they would light the fire one last time before summer arrived. One final fire to mark the transition, to honor the season that was passing and welcome the one that was arriving. Can you picture it? The windows are open, and you can hear the evening sounds drifting in. Birds are settling into their nests for the night, calling out to one another. Somewhere down the street, children are playing, their laughter carrying on the breeze. The curtains, light and gauzy, billow gently inward, dancing in the spring air. And there, in the fireplace, the flames are burning bright and warm, creating this perfect contradiction, winter's warmth meeting spring's freshness. This is where memories were made. This is where stories were told. And tonight, as you rest here, feeling the weight of your own blankets, hearing the sound of rain against your own windows, you're connected to that moment, that place, that feeling of perfect contentment. Let's stay here a while, shall we? There's no rush. Time has a different quality when you're by the fire. Hours can pass like minutes, or minutes can stretch into something that feels almost eternal. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Feel the warmth on your face, even if it's just the memory of warmth. Let your breathing slow naturally, finding its own easy rhythm. In the house I'm remembering, there was a man who would sit in a particular chair by the fire. It was his chair, though he never claimed it as such. Everyone just knew. It was positioned at an angle to the fireplace, close enough to feel the heat, but not so close as to be uncomfortable. The chair was old, upholstered in a faded floral pattern that had once been bright, but had softened over the years to muted greens and pinks. The arms were worn smooth where hands had rested, decade after decade. He would sit there in the evenings, this man, especially as winter turned to spring. Sometimes he would read, holding a book at arm's length, his reading glasses perched on his nose. But often, he would simply sit and watch the fire. There was a peacefulness about him in those moments. The concerns of the day seemed to fall away. Work, obligations, worries, they all faded into insignificance when measured against the simple pleasure of a warm fire and a quiet evening. If you were lucky enough to be there with him, you would feel that peace too. It was contagious in the best possible way. You could sit in comfortable silence, or you could talk. He was a good listener, this man. He had a way of making you feel like whatever you were saying was the most important thing in the world. His eyes would focus on you, really focus, and you knew he was hearing not just your words, but everything beneath them. On spring evenings, when the fire was burning and the windows were open, he would sometimes share stories from his own childhood. The memories would simply arrive, prompted by the season, the smell in the air, the particular quality of the light. He would begin with, "Did I ever tell you about?" And then he'd be off, taking you back to a time long before you were born, to a world that seemed both impossibly different and remarkably familiar. Kaboj 4000 Tefnink. There was one story he told often about the springs of his boyhood. He grew up in the countryside where spring didn't just arrive, it erupted. The world went from brown and gray to explosively green seemingly overnight. The creek behind his house, which had been frozen and silent all winter, would suddenly be rushing and alive, full of melted snow from the mountains. He and his brothers would spend every available moment outside, building dams, catching tadpoles, getting thoroughly muddy and gloriously happy. But the story he loved most wasn't about grand adventures. It was about something simpler. Every spring, his mother would air out the house, much like the tradition in the house with the fireplace. She would throw open every window and door, and the wind would blow through, carrying with it the smell of wet earth and new grass. And then in the evening, when the air cooled, his father would build a fire. Not a large one, just enough to take the chill off. The family would gather around it, and his mother would bring out the first strawberries of the season. Those strawberries, he could describe them with such vivid detail that you could almost taste them yourself. They were small, not like the enormous ones you find in stores now. These were wild strawberries, intensely flavored, sweet with just a hint of tartness. His mother would serve them in small glass dishes, with a bit of cream and a sprinkle of sugar. And they would eat them slowly, savoring each bite, while the fire crackled and the spring breeze drifted through the house. That's what spring meant to him. Not just a season, but a feeling, a taste, a moment of pure contentment. And when he told that story, sitting by the fire with his own windows open to the spring air, you could see that he was there again, for just a moment. A boy eating strawberries, surrounded by his family, feeling perfectly happy. You have stories like that too, don't you? Maybe not about strawberries and creek beds, but about something. Some memory that contains the essence of spring for you. Perhaps it's the smell of lilacs blooming, or the feeling of going outside without a jacket for the first time in months, or the way the light changes, becoming softer, more golden. These memories live in us, waiting to be remembered. The fire is burning lower now, settling into glowing coals. The flames are smaller, dancing less vigorously, but the heat is steady and deep. This is often the best part of a fire, when it's past its initial intensity, but still radiating warmth. You don't need to add more wood. This is perfect as it is. Outside, the rain continues its gentle percussion. It's a soothing sound, isn't it? Rain on windows, rain on roof tiles, rain on the garden. It's the kind of rain that's going to do good things. Tomorrow the grass will be greener. The flowers will have opened a little more. The world will have taken another small step towards summer. But that's tomorrow. Right now we're here, suspended in this perfect moment between seasons, between day and night, between sleeping and waking. Your body knows what to do. It's already beginning to let go, muscle by muscle, thought by thought. You don't have to force anything. Just allow it to happen. In the house with the fireplace, there was a window seat. Do you know the kind I mean? It was built into the wall, beneath a large bay window, with cushions covered in a sturdy fabric that could withstand the sun. On spring evenings, after the fire had been lit and dinner had been eaten, someone would inevitably claim that spot. They would curl up with their back against one side of the window frame, their feet stretched out along the cushion, perhaps with a blanket over their legs, even though the fire was warm enough. From there, they could see both worlds, the interior warmth of the house with its dancing firelight, and the exterior world with its deepening twilight and stirring of spring. It was a magical spot, that window seat. A liminal space, caught between inside and outside, between the day that was ending and the night that was beginning. If you sat there long enough, you would see the transformation. The sky would shift from blue to pink to purple to that deep dark blue that isn't quite black. Stars would begin to appear, one by one. The neighborhood lights would flick on, glowing in windows across the way. The world would settle itself for sleep. And if you are very still, very quiet, you might hear things. The last call of a robin before it tucked its head under its wing. The rustle of a cat moving through the bushes on its nightly patrol. The distant sound of a train whistle, lonely and somehow comforting. These sounds of evening, mixed with the pop and hiss of the fire behind you, created a symphony of sorts. Not music exactly, but something better. The authentic sound of life happening, gentle and real. There was a girl who loved that window seat. She would finish her homework, help with the dishes, and then claim her spot as quickly as possible. She had a ritual. She would bring a cup of tea, something floral and light, perfect for spring. Chamomile, usually, with a bit of honey. She would bring a book, though she rarely read much, and she would bring her thoughts, which was really the point of the whole exercise. Sitting there, watching the day end and feeling the warmth of the fire at her back, she would let her mind wander. She would think about her day, about conversations she'd had, about things she'd learned. She would think about the future, about who she wanted to become, about the adventures that surely awaited her. But mostly, she would simply be present, aware, grateful for this moment, this feeling, this perfect combination of comfort and anticipation that spring always brought. Years later, when she was grown and living in a place far away from that house with the fireplace, she would sometimes close her eyes and try to recreate that feeling. The warmth at her back, the cool air from the window, the smell of wood smoke mixed with the fresh scent of spring rain, the particular quality of the light as day became night. And sometimes, when she was very tired or very stressed, she would find it. That feeling, that peace. And it would sustain her, remind her of who she was, of where she came from, of the simple truth that good moments exist and can be returned to, at least in memory. That's what we're doing now, you and I. We're creating a memory that you can return to, a place of safety and warmth and peace. Tonight is difficult or tomorrow falls uncertain, you can come back here. To this fire, this rain, this feeling of being perfectly safe and perfectly comfortable. You can close your eyes, take a deep breath, and remember, the fire has burned down to mostly coals now. The red glow is deep and steady, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. If you were to hold your hands out toward it, you would still feel the heat, radiating outward in waves. Kabud a pen 4,000 tefnenk. But it's a gentler heat now, not demanding your attention, just quietly offering its warmth. This is how the best fires end, not with a dramatic finale, but with a slow fade into embers. There's something deeply satisfying about it. All that energy, all that light and heat and movement, gradually transforming into something quieter, calmer, but no less valuable. The embers will keep the house warm for hours yet, long after the flames have disappeared. In the house I've been telling you about, this was the signal that the day was truly ending. When the fire burned down to coals, it was time to think about sleep. Not to rush toward it, but to begin the gentle transition. Lights would be dimmed, voices would grow softer. The house itself seemed to understand, settling in for the night, with small creaks and sighs as the wood contracted in the cooling air. Someone would bank the fire, spreading the coals evenly, perhaps adding one more small log that would burn slowly through the night. The screen would be placed securely in front of the fireplace. The windows would be closed partway, enough to keep the rain out, but still allowing some of that fresh spring air to circulate. And then, one by one, people would make their way to bed. But before they did, they would pause, just for a moment, standing in the doorway, looking back at the room with its dying fire and its comfortable furniture and its feeling of home. They would take a mental photograph, storing it away for safekeeping. Another memory of spring, another moment of contentment, another reminder that the best things in life are often the simplest: warmth, shelter, family, peace. You're doing the same thing now, aren't you? Creating a memory. You might not realize it in this moment, but someday, perhaps years from now, you'll remember this. The night you let yourself fully relax. The night you listened to a story about spring and fires and houses filled with love. The night you allowed yourself to believe that peace is possible, that rest is not just permitted, but necessary, that you deserve this moment of absolute comfort. And you'll smile, remembering. You'll feel again the softness of your pillow, the weight of your blankets, the safety of your own space. You'll remember the sound of rain, the image of firelight, the feeling of being held in a moment that asked nothing of you except to be present and to rest. The rain has settled into a steady rhythm now. Not heavy, not light, but constant. The kind of rain that will last all night, soaking into the earth, filling the streams, nourishing every growing thing. It's a generous rain, this spring rain. It asks nothing and gives everything. The world will be transformed by it, gradually, gently, inevitably. In the morning, when you wake, the rain might still be falling, or it might have stopped, leaving everything washed clean and shining. The birds will be singing, loud and joyful, celebrating the moisture and the warmth and the abundance of insects that emerge after rain. The grass will be a brighter green. The flowers will have lifted their faces, colors more vivid after their drink of rainwater. But that's tomorrow. Right now, we're still in tonight, still by the fire, still feeling the perfect combination of warmth and cool, light and shadow, wakefulness and sleep. You're balanced on the edge, and it's a comfortable edge, not a precipice, but a gentle slope. You can let yourself slide down it naturally, easily, knowing that there's a soft landing waiting. In that house with the fireplace, there was a bedroom upstairs. It wasn't large or fancy, but it had a window that looked out over the garden. On spring nights, after the fire had burned down and the house had grown quiet, you could lie in that bed and hear everything. The rain on the roof, which was closer here on the second floor. The sound of water running through the downspout. The occasional gust of wind that would make the trees rustle and sway. The room would be cool, but not cold. There would be quilts on the bed, soft and heavy, the kind that seemed to mold themselves around you, holding you in a gentle embrace. And as you lay there, hovering between waking and sleeping, you would feel so utterly safe, protected by walls and roof, warmed by the residual heat from the fire below, lulled by the sounds of spring rain and wind. This is where stories would sometimes begin. Not stories told out loud, but the stories your mind creates as it drifts toward sleep. Fragments of dreams mixing with memories, creating something new and strange, and uniquely yours. A landscape you've never seen, but somehow recognize. A conversation with someone who might be real, or might be imagined. A feeling of flying, or swimming, or simply floating in warm water. These are the gifts that sleep brings. Not just rest, though that's crucial, but also this. The freedom to let your mind wander without judgment, without direction, without purpose. To simply be, in the most fundamental sense of the word. To exist in a state between conscious thought and unconsciousness, where anything seems possible, and nothing is required of you. The coals in the fireplace are barely glowing now. If you walked into that room, you might think the fire had gone out completely. But if you watched for a moment, if you let your eyes adjust to the darkness, you would see the faint pulse of red deep within the ash. Life, heat, energy, just resting, waiting, ready to be rekindled if needed. That's you too. After a long day, or a long week, or a long season, you might feel like your own fire has burned down to nothing. But it hasn't. It's just rested. The core of you, the essential spark that makes you who you are, it's still there, glowing quietly, waiting. And rest like this, deep, genuine rest, is what allows that spark to flare back to life when you need it. So give yourself permission to rest fully. To let go of the day that was. To stop planning for the day that will be. To simply be here, now, in this perfect moment that exists outside of time. The fire is warm. The rain is gentle. The darkness is soft. And you are safe. There was a tradition in that house. One last thing before sleep. Someone, usually the person who had been sitting in the chair by the fire, would make one final round of the house. Not because there was any real threat, but because it felt right. A way of honoring the space, of acknowledging the shelter it provided. They would check the windows, making sure the ones that needed to be closed were closed. They would touch the wall near the fireplace, feeling the residual warmth stored in the bricks. They would straighten a cushion, adjust a curtain, put away a book that had been left out. Small acts of care, small moments of gratitude. And then they would pause at the foot of the stairs, looking back one more time at the living room. The fire was mostly dark now, just that faint glow of coals. The rain continued outside. The house creaked softly as it always did. And there was a feeling, almost impossible to put into words, of everything being exactly as it should be. That feeling is available to you, right now. Everything is exactly as it should be. You are exactly where you need to be. This moment, this breath, this heartbeat, it's all perfect. Not perfect in some unattainable ideal way, but perfect in its simple reality. You're here, you're breathing, you're alive. And for right now, nothing else matters. As they climbed the stairs in that house, hand trailing along the banister, they could feel the day falling away. The weight of it, the complexity of it, all dissolving like sugar in water. By the time they reached the top step, they were already half asleep, carried forward by habit and routine and the deep knowledge that rest awaited. You're feeling that now, aren't you? That loosening, that letting go. Your body has been gradually relaxing throughout this entire story, and now it's reached a point where sleep is not just possible, but inevitable. You're not fighting it, you're not forcing it, you're simply allowing it to arrive, in its own time, in its own way. The bedroom in that house had a particular smell. It was a combination of things. The faint scent of wood smoke that had drifted up from below. The clean smell of fresh linens that had been dried in spring sunshine. A hint of the lilac bush that grew just outside the window. When you pulled back the covers and slid into bed, that smell would surround you, familiar and comforting. The sheets would be cool at first, but your body heat would quickly warm them. The pillow would be exactly the right height, the right softness. Your head would sink into it, and you would feel the tension in your neck and shoulders release. The quilt would be heavy enough to feel substantial, but not so heavy as to be oppressive. Just right. Everything somehow, just right. And as you lay there, you would become aware of the rain again. It had been there all along, of course, but now you really heard it. The patter on the roof tiles, directly above you. the splash as it collected and then overflowed from the gutter, the rustle of leaves as occasional drops fell from the trees. It was a lullaby, this rain. Nature's own bedtime story, told without words, but with perfect clarity. Your breathing would slow to match the rhythm of the rain, in and out, steady and regular. Your heartbeat would slow too, settling into that peaceful pace that indicates the body is ready for sleep. And your thoughts, those constant companions that usually chatter and demand and insist, they would begin to quiet. Not disappearing entirely, but fading into the background, becoming as soft and indistinct as the sound of rain on distant roof. There might be a moment right before sleep truly claimed you, when you would have a thought so clear and simple that it felt like truth itself. I am content. Not happy in some ecstatic way, not excited or stimulated or entertained, just content, satisfied, at peace. And that feeling, that deep sense of okayness, would be the last thing you were aware of before sleep took you completely. That's where you are now, balanced on that edge. The story is almost over, but it doesn't matter because you're already somewhere else. You're in that bedroom, or in your own bed, or in some perfect amalgamation of the two. You're warm and safe and comfortable. The rain is falling. The fire has burned down to embers. The day is done. In the morning, there will be things to do. There always are. But the morning is far away. Right now, there is only this: the weight of blankets, the softness of pillow, the sound of rain, the memory of firelight. And you, letting go, letting sleep come, trusting that rest will restore you, that tomorrow will take care of itself, that for now, this moment, you can simply be. The house is silent now except for the rain. Everyone is asleep, lost in their own dreams, their own private worlds of rest and restoration. The living room is dark, the fire finally gone out completely, but the warmth remains, stored in the bricks, radiating outward still, keeping the house comfortable through the night. And upstairs, in that bedroom with the window overlooking the garden, someone sleeps peacefully. Their breathing is slow and deep, their faces relaxed, all the tensions of day smoothed away. They're dreaming, perhaps, of spring, of flowers and sunshine and the promise of longer days ahead. Or perhaps they're not dreaming of anything specific, just experiencing that deep, restorative sleep that allows the body and mind to heal and prepare for whatever comes next. That person could be anyone. Could be someone from long ago in that house that may or may not have really existed. Could be you tonight in your own bed, creating your own memories of spring and fire and rain. Could be all of us, in our own ways, seeking that same thing: peace, rest, the permission to let go. The rain continues. It will rain all night, and possibly into tomorrow. But that's all right. The world needs this rain. The gardens and fields and forests are drinking it in, grateful for the nourishment. And you need this rest, this sleep, this break from the constant demands of consciousness. Your mind and body are drinking it in, just as grateful, just as necessary. Kabuch 4000 Tefniank. So, sleep now. Let the story fade away. Let the images blur and dissolve. Let your thoughts slow and stop. The fire has burned down. The rain is falling. The world is taking care of itself without any help from you. And you are exactly where you should be, doing exactly what you should be doing. Sleeping, resting, letting spring work its magic, even as you dream. The ember glows one last time, so faint you might not see it. And then even that is gone. The fire is out. The night is deep. And somewhere, in a house real or imagined, someone sleeps peacefully, remembering spring in the firelight, even as they drift deeper into dreams. Sleep well. Rest deeply. Tomorrow will come, as it always does, with its own challenges and joys. But tonight is for this, for peace, for rest, for the simple act of being alive and allowing your body the care it needs. The rain whispers on. The darkness holds you gently, and sleep, that sweet gift, finally claims you completely, carrying you away to wherever it is we go when we dream. That mysterious country of the mind, where anything is possible and everything is exactly as it should be. Rest now. The story is over. Spring will still be here when you wake, and so will you, restored and ready, having remembered something important, that peace is possible, that rest is necessary, and that sometimes the simplest moments of fire and rain and the coming of spring are the ones we remember most clearly, the ones that sustain us through everything else. Good night. Sleep well, and remember spring in the firelight whenever you need a place of peace to return to. It will always be here, waiting for you, this perfect moment between seasons, this gentle space between day and night, this memory made real by the simple act of allowing yourself to rest. The rain falls, the night deepens, and you sleep, finally, completely, peacefully, held safe by darkness and silence, and the knowledge that morning will come, bringing with it all the promise that spring always holds. Sleep. Kabud H4000, Tefnink.